the second year. We just completed season 2. Season 3 coming up next year. But your life as a podcast over the last couple of years, I mean, how different has that been as far as an experience for you to do this?
Well, it's something I didn't think I'd ever do, I can tell you that. But it's been, it's been a lot of fun, John. We get to talk the game that I love with all my heart, and I've been able to reconnect with a lot of my former players. Obviously, get opinions from everybody, but it's been a lot of fun. I love talking baseball, and so for me, it gives us, like you and I are together, to talk about the thing we enjoy most, and that's New York Mets baseball.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And we're joined by Andy Martino. Andy, of course,
hello, everybody.
Long time no see.
Is an insider for SNY, and he comes on our show and we do a leadoff segment. And I figured before we bring on our very special guest, who everyone's here to see, before we put everybody's ass in the jackpot, we're going to actually talk about what happened this week with the New York Mets. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like I am. I don't come from it from an insider basis. I've been a Mets fan since 1966. So I was there when Seaver got traded. I was there with all the changes that have happened, and I've really bled orange and blue most of my life. But this week was pretty traumatic if you're a Mets fan, and I'm sure a lot of people here feel the same way. First, TC, I mean, I know that when we have done the podcast, you've always said Pete Alonso is going to get paid. But this signing of Pete to Baltimore, it wasn't the most surprising thing for you when you're seeing everything play out.
No, I thought certainly anybody who knows baseball and is a baseball fan realizes who Pete's agent is. And so last year when Pete settled for the 2-year deal, that did not set with Scott Boras. Scott Boras gets done what he wants to have happen. And so I think that when Pete didn't get the contract last year, there was some hard feelings, not necessarily on Pete's side, but certainly on Scott's side. So I was not surprised that there was a deal that they settled outside of the New York Mets. And I feel bad. I think the world of Pete. I like him a lot. What he's done for this franchise on and off the field is tremendous. But again, I wish him the best. But we got to move on. We got to find somebody to pick up that slack.
Right. You were saying yesterday that the team didn't win with its current core. So when you don't win and you have all those guys together over all these years, something's got to change. And Andy, I think you would agree that this was the direction the Mets were going.
It was certainly, other than, excuse me, as we were talking about BNMY, we touched on this a little bit in our last segment up here, like the other than Diaz, this was not the direction they went. They would have liked to have had Diaz back. They would have liked to have Pete back for the price. And by the way, they weren't seeking to trade Brandon Nimmo. This all sort of happened one at a time. The Texas Rangers called and were aggressive on Brandon Nimmo. So I think that's a meaningful difference, too, that it wasn't like take a sledgehammer to the core. It was one thing came up after the other. But no, as you said, John, the Mets have had some success, but not the ultimate success, and no one's getting any younger. So they felt it was time to consider all these different things that led to a reset.
Well, everybody thinks that that you can have instant success. If you go out and you bring in a big free agent like Juan Soto, that there's going to be instant success. This game is about pitching. You can tell me all you want. If you cannot get that other team out, you're not going to win in the big leagues. And so when you run through 76 pitchers in 1 year, that's a problem. So I thought the team, everybody says, well, this team didn't win. Well, for 3 of the last 4 years, they look like they're pretty good,
yes.
And so for me, they were very, very close. It was about going out and getting yourself some pitchers. And again, I know I'm an old school guy, but this 4 2/3, 5 1/3 innings, that's got to go. I'm sorry. You cannot win. You cannot win in the big leagues without limping you start pitching. And so, I talked to Carlos when the season was over. We had a great conversation on the phone. And, I told him, I said, I feel so bad for you. You got to manage your bullpen every night for 4 innings. And now all of a sudden you read where he's criticized by his bullpen. They were used too much. Well, hell, what do you think you're going to get? You can't go in the stands and is there an inning out here somewhere? What the hell? That's what you got. So I don't feel bad. I just think they were closer than what everybody gives them credit for. And I know one thing. I know David's got a plan, and I think they're going to be fine.
Can I just interject real quick, John, to say, like, can we just acknowledge how lucky we all are to have Terry Collins himself?
Absolutely.
And that honest way that Terry has of saying things, blunt and to the point, is I was so lucky as a beat writer in my younger years to learn from that every day. So just like, this isn't just some schmuck up here popping off. This is the longest tenured manager in Mets history. I think that should be remembered.
And the last man to bring him to the World Series.
And the last man to the World Series. Great point.
No, it's been an honor to work with Terry over the last couple of years, and it's exciting to be here once again. And Terry, I know you're close to Brandon too, though. I mean, and that trade was kind of surprising. And players they want to be wanted. And when you have a no trade clause, Brandon built a house in Port St. Lucie, ready to settle
By the way,
down.
it's going to be for sale here.
Yeah, it's pretty soon.
Looking for a real big house.
But that was kind of a surprise out of it when he agreed to waive that no trade clause. Have you spoken to him at all?
Actually, I was at a golf outing last Sunday. Brandon and his father were there. But, all of the stories about Brandon Nimmo, he made himself a really good player. When I saw him when he was a kid, I didn't think he was ever going to have much power. I thought he was going to be a kind of a big singles guy. He made himself a good player. I mean, I saw a lot of films. I watched a lot of Mets games, and this guy made as good a place as anybody. He took a lot of home runs away. He made a lot of diving catches, and he's such a personable guy. I was shocked by that move. I really was shocked by that move. And, good offensive players are hard to find, but it also tells you what kind of a person he is. He respects the game so much that they said, hey, look, would you, waive your no trade clause? And he said, look, if you want me to go someplace else, it's going to help the team get better, I'm all for it. That's Brandon Nimmo. You won't find that in a lot of places. They put those no trade clauses in for a reason. These guys want to stay there. And Brandon said, look, if you need me to go someplace else, I'll go someplace else. And that speaks volumes.
And also, to expand on that point even, Terry, players usually charge to waive their no trade clause. That's a piece of leverage in a contract. All right, you want me to waive it? That's going to be a $10 million bonus. So Brandon didn't do any of that either.
Yeah, he's just a special kid. And, again, I'm so excited. He's going to be back with Jake.
Yeah.
So it'll give us somebody in the American League we can root for.
There you go. There you go. I have
That too.
one last thing to discuss, and really, Andy and TC, if you want to weigh in on it, but with all the outcry, and of course now we have social media. I remember when Siegel was traded in '77. I remember that summer, and he asked for a trade because of Dick Young was a columnist for the Daily News and wrote things about Seaver's wife being jealous of Nolan Ryan's wife, and M. Donald Grant was playing a little hardball with him, so Seaver asked out. What happened this week was something that I don't think the Mets fan base has ever experienced. Losing, not from Thanksgiving with Nimmo.
3 beloved players in one stretch.
3, and that's hard to take. Do you think that the Mets maybe underestimated the backlash? Because I know we're all on social media here for the most part, and I've never seen such an outcry as what I've seen this week. Is it going to die down? I don't know, but do you think they've been unprepared for maybe the backlash from the fans on this one?
John, honestly, interacting with Mets people in proximity in the winter meetings, I didn't get that sense, surprise. I got a sense that, we understand, by we, I mean the Mets organization, what they're thinking, like you're saying, we understand that this is a tough pill to ask our fans to swallow, but we really think this is what's going to make the Mets win more games. Now, the only time will tell if that actually bears out that way, but I think the thing that's not as understood about David Stearns is that this is a guy who literally grew up in Manhattan, Mets fan, because he didn't want anything to do with the Yankees. He felt that was too easy. I want to be a Mets fan. His mom wouldn't let him watch games on school nights, so he had the radio under his covers listening to Bob Murphy and Gary Cohen. And this guy is a romantic about the Mets. He understands how you all feel. He just has calculated that the way to get you all, including himself, happiest is by doing these things. Again, I'm not telling you it's going to work or that it's not, but he's not ignoring your all feelings. He's trying to create great memories for all of you, and we will now see what the next couple of years bring.
Got it. Well, we're here for the main event.
That didn't get an applause from the crowd.
No, I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of angry Met fans out there.
But that is my honest answer to your question.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it plays out, right? And what moves they make, and what else can maybe make this fan base kind of say, okay, things are going to be all right. But I know we're all addicted to the Mets. It's all in our blood. So we're going to go to the ballpark, and we're going to go to spring training, and we're going to watch the team, and hopefully they're going to win. I mean, no matter what players come and go, I mean, for most of us in this room, I'm sure that you live and die with this team, and we're going to continue to do that. So we wish everybody well, the ones that have departed and the new ones that are coming in. But TC, as you said on SNY's Baseball Night in New York, don't count on all those rookies to come in because, good luck if you're counting on the rookies only.
I told that I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people in this audience, and many, many years ago, I had two of the greatest managers in the game, Tommy Lasorda and Jim Leland, told me, he said, young players are great, but they'll get your ass fired. So they better play good.
Exactly.
You don't want to bring in too many of them at once.
Exactly right.
Right. Well, let's move on to the main event here. On May 28th, 2016, during a game between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets, one of the most iconic arguments between a major league manager and umpire took place, and it all stemmed from the playoffs when Dodgers chased Utley Slide injured Mets infielder Ruben Tejada in the 2015 playoffs. And that led the following year on this day to Noah Syndergaard's ejection for throwing at Utley. And Terry, you kind of came to your defense of your pitcher immediately, and then our guest is going
I
to.
didn't know whether to go to him first, go to Noah first for not hitting him, or go to Tom.
Yeah, that was a big swing and a miss on Noah's part for sure. And now that argument was something that has now been watched millions and millions of times on social media, across YouTube, and everywhere else. With our guest Tom Hallion's line, "Our asses in the jackpot" now becoming iconic. In this segment, I'm going to turn it over to Andy Martino, but let's welcome Tom Hallion, former MLB umpire, part of one of the most iconic arguments in the history of baseball. Tom, welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Well, John, I think that's our cue to watch the iconic argument and to apologize to anybody who's under the age of, earmuffs.
40.
Yeah.
Yes. Here we go.
This nice man right here. Yes.
I bet you're really happy you came now, aren't you?
Well, as we could all see there, and it's my pleasure to lead a conversation with these distinguished baseball men here. Tom handled himself with a lot of class in that one too. And Terry, this is why we love Terry, because he can. And I used to say this as a beat writer when maybe someone would criticize you for this or that move, but like, this guy's one of us. Do y'all remember when he sprayed champagne on the crowd in Cincinnati after they clinched the division in 15? That's because you're one of them. And so that's what you all saw. But let's talk about that. There's a lot to unpack from that moment that we just saw. The first thing that's in my mind, this is from both of you. Tom first, if you don't mind. Just as you're watching that now, all these years later, what's going through your mind as you're seeing yourself in that interaction? Normally you're just in it. You don't get to watch a video. What are you thinking as you watch that now?
Well, it was pretty new because nothing like that was ever shown, or you would get a video of it. So I was very nervous when I was told that it's out there on the internet, and I thought, oh shit, what did I say? What am I going to get in trouble for? So with that being said, watching it now, it's, I don't know about you all, but it's pretty neat. It's pretty awesome. I was fortunate to have a guy here who I have always had the utmost respect on the field with. Now being retired, and we go through this together now sometimes, it's nice now also to know him as a person and a friend. So that part has been great. It was, if you want my opinion, it was like real baseball. This is the shit that you hear on the field. This is really what goes on. Now, you never really hear what is being said, but it happens. I knew Terry was mad. I knew exactly what was going on. So I just wanted him to vent out, get it out. And I was trying to protect my AAA umpire who had the home plate. He threw no out. So I went in to kind of get Terry off of Adam and just let him yell at me. And we had a pretty good conversation.
I thought
So you're watching it, Terry. What are you thinking?
When I see this?
Yeah, when you see this.
Well, when it first broke, and Tom, this is the one thing that Tom and I have talked about. Everybody has to understand, I wasn't mad at him.
Right.
I was not mad at Tom. I was a little upset about the home plate umpire, but I was upset about the guy who was in the batter's box. That's the guy that I was the most upset about. And I've known Tom for a long time, and I understand he just did it. But when I first saw it, I was embarrassed because I got honestly tell you, I got grandkids. I did not know he had a mic on him.
Yeah.
Or I would not have said some of the things I said because when the game starts, if there's a mic, you kind of know, hey, look, this guy's mic. I gotta make sure I don't get carried away. Well, I got carried away. So, but when this thing broke, I wanted to know how to get a hold of him. I called Major League Baseball, asked for an apology, and they said we don't know how it got out. And then when Tom and I had conversations about it, which I'll have him tell you about, this thing shouldn't have been out.
Right.
4 years later. So Tom, tell them what the rules should be.
So we had the Umpires Union had a contract with Fox that on their game of the week, which this was, they would like usually the home plate umpire, but the home plate umpire was a AAA umpire, and the union was not putting a microphone on the AAA umpire, so I had it at first base. But as soon as the game is over, the audio and the video must be destroyed. Well, somebody was thinking ahead.
Not destroyed.
Somebody was thinking ahead and held this for 4 years before letting it out. Both Terry called Major League Baseball. I called the union and Major League Baseball. To this day, we still do not know who let the video out, which is kind of amazing.
It is amazing that hasn't got out. So can we back up a little, guys? Like, that's the backstory of the video itself. When you talk about, you got to give us a shot. Like, for the uninitiated, what are the unwritten rules here? Or were the game is changing and perhaps changing this way? We all know what Utley did at Tejada. So what is in the old school baseball, like unwritten rules? What are the Mets? What's the shot? What are you supposed to be able to get there?
Well, I'm just going to tell you again. Rules have changed, and Tom will get into it in a minute. But my first year managing in the major leagues, I was managing in Houston, and we had a bench clearing fight with the Cincinnati Reds, and guys were being ejected, and so the crew chief was named John McSherry. John was 6'4", 340 pounds, great. And so he's in the process of writing down names on a piece of paper that he's going to eject. So I walked up as the manager of the Astros and said, "Who are you kicking out? Who on my team are you getting kicked out?" And he never looked up from his paper, but he said, "You got one shot. You hit the first guy in the batter's box, and I'm going to put an end to this." That's where it came from.
Right. And Tom, this is how the game was sort of informally policed for a long time, right?
Well, that's exactly that's old school.
Yeah.
It was handled by the guys on the field. And what happened was Major League Baseball started to want to get their hands involved with that and try to stop the fighting.
Yeah.
And in that time frame. So there was directives out to us, like at spring training and everything. They wanted us to be more aggressive with ejecting and stopping the incident then. So I will tell you this, I'm old school, and Terry had his shot. And I don't know if anybody picked it up, but I told him, you had your shot.
Yeah.
It was just that Noah missed him by 16.
Well, so this is one thing I wanted to ask you, Terry. So, Tom, I was going to ask you both. You just answered the question. The Mets had their shot, in your view. Noah just missed. Is that the shot? I know you were mad. You got to give us our shot, but now that you're out of the moment, did you get the shot and geez, no, he just should have.
Well, we did, but I didn't think he should be kicked out for it.
Right. Oh,
That was
because
the
you got to
issue.
give us the shot.
We had the
Yes,
shot, we
gotcha.
missed him. Well, why are you kicking the guy out?
Right.
I mean, that was my whole thing with the home plate umpire. And
Gotcha.
I said, why would you, warn us? Send a warning out there. But, and Tom, and I'm sure there's no doubt, and he can answer this. Since there's going to be an umpire with a microphone, and they picked the crew chief who's going to be at first base, there's no doubt in my mind they knew something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Is that true or not?
I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Okay.
I had to take the microphone only because Adam couldn't wear the microphone. But I will say this. In the old days, believe me, I was not involved, but I was there for, a couple fights on the baseball field. And usually how it worked was if the Mets hit Utley, he's going to run to first base and it's going to be over. Most of the time, you get the instances where, the Dodgers are pissed now. They're going to come back and they're going to hit somebody on Terry's team the next inning. And that's where it blows up. And that's really what baseball was kind of instructing us to do, is to take more control of the game. And that's, there's a couple things that go into it. It was the fact that Utley broke Tejada's
His leg. Yeah.
It was the fact that he only got a 1-game suspension. It was the fact that he really never served that suspension. So, there's still a lot of shit going on. And, now, I if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of reveal a little bit about our Friday night managers meeting at home plate. All right? Mm-hmm. So Terry comes out, and Dodgers have a new manager, Dave Roberts. It's his first year managing the Dodgers. And so Terry is, says, "Hey, Dave, congratulations, da da da." And there's something that said, I wish I could remember exactly how it went, but it was like, "Hey, Terry, I hope that's over. I wasn't even involved with the team last year, and I hope that, you guys aren't going to do anything." Well, that was the first sign that something's going to happen.
And what did Terry say?
No, Terry played it cool. He just said, "Well, it was wrong. They I really don't agree with it. That's why, da, 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 da." And off they left. And my partner, Phil Cuzzy, says to me, he goes, "That was the kiss of death." That's what happened.
So then or you sense, obviously, you guys doing this a long time, that something's probably going to happen. So, Tom, when the ball when Noah sends that ball wherever he was intending to send it, and then the ejection happens, are you immediately thinking, "Oh, here we go"? And like, did you know how this was going to escalate with the argument and the whole thing?
No, I had no idea. As you when you watch the film, I was pretty calm on the mound with Noah and Neil Walker.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, we'll just try to talk our way out of this one. And well, then I heard, if you noticed, the reason why I turned around and looked back home was because I heard the crowd go nuts, and that's when Terry started getting. I don't know if you were ejected then, or you started to get a little more animated with Adam. And I just said, take. I was telling Phil, take Noah on the mound, and I'm going, and that's when I just wanted to get in between Terry and Adam, and I said, okay, now, just sometimes, you got to have instincts sometimes, and just my instincts said, do it this way, and and I just started trying to pull Terry down from the cliff, and try to make it a manageable situation, which I think I did that, and I think Terry made his point. I don't know if you watch the video, you'll see Terry says, baseball do a fucking thing to him, and then I say that kind of stops me, and I go, "Oh, Terry, you know how I feel about that. There's nothing I can do," and I agreed with him. It's not. I didn't say that to him, but I did agree with them that baseball was very, very, very lenient on Chase, and that's part of the game that we can't control.
Tom, and that you were you did give Terry, and at one point when Terry said a very nasty word, you go, "Okay, did you get it all out, Terry?" but you didn't fire back. And there are times when we see umpires get really hot, but it seems to me that the vast majority of the time, umpires are really good at, this guy's in your face. Like, a human reaction is to maybe get mad back, and you let him have his say. Is that something that's challenging to hold your own temper when someone's yelling at you? Not just Terry, but generally speaking, been in, I'm sure, a million arguments with managers over the years. Is it part of your job, as you see it, to really try to stay calm and composed when the manager isn't?
Absolutely. Yeah, if I think about this, we got a manager going nuts, yelling, calling me everything, and then I say, "The hell with this, I'm going to call that," and then I'm putting gasoline on a fire, and you know what happens then.
Right.
So yeah, you always try to. Doesn't always happen, but you try.
Well, you're a human being.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're winding back to the beginning of that too. You were talking, Tom, about you're talking to Neil Walker and Noah and the infielders there for a few minutes. Crowd goes crazy. All of a sudden, we hear Terry. And that might be my favorite part of the video. Is I'm not going to sit here and say the word up here. But Terry did it at the stadium, and it's just like, and here we go, we're off. A missing part of that video, Terry, is what you were doing. It's just not filmed. What you were doing when Tom was talking to Noah and Neil and the infielders. So how does that start for you? You come out of the dugout, go straight to the AAA ump, right? And then does he eject you right away, or what's happening for those 30 seconds?
It just didn't take long. I mean, but first of all, when I first went out there. Now, this goes back to 2016 or 2015, in game 5 in Los Angeles, after Chase had already broke Tejada's leg. In game 5, if you guys remember, I put Noah in the bullpen. So, and he said to me on his way to the bullpen, before the game starts, he said, "Hey, Skip, if you want me to hit anybody, let me know." And I said, "Not tonight." Let's just win tonight's game. We'll worry about this at another time. So I knew that in his mind, and again, guys, there's a lot of things that go on in the clubhouse before a game that I'm not aware of. And there might have been one of the position players. It could have been Murph. It could have been David. It could have been anybody that maybe went to Noah and said, "You got to get up tonight." Baseball players have great memories. Great memories. We don't forget what happened last year or 2 years ago. And this was really outside of a pinch hit, and for the first time we got to see Chase.
Yeah.
And so that stuff, and I didn't know what he was going to do. I really did. I really thought he was just going to, like Tom said. And if you guys ever watched much of Chase Utley, if Noah hit him with a 102-mile-an-hour fastball in the middle of the bat, he'd have flipped the bat back and went to first base because he knew it was coming too.
So that's obviously, you guys are baseball fans. You know, like that's what Noah was supposed to do, is hit him in the side, hit him in the back, and Chase would take it because he's old school too. So did you ever ask Noah, like, why'd you throw it over there?
5 minutes later,
Yeah.
after I was walking off the
What
field,
did he say?
I walked in. I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I tried to hit him." I said, "You missed him by 6 feet. Leave a mark. Put a bruise on him." And that's,
So wait a minute. I assumed that he was like he did with Alcides Escobar in the World Series, that he was throwing above his head to scare him. He didn't want him.
that's all he wanted.
Do you
to
know?
do.
Was he trying to hit him and he missed, or he was trying?
No. He just wanted to send a message to the Royals that, hey, we're still here. That was kind of, but that's what happens, as Tom said. But with this that was the case, I was just shocked. And again, I didn't know what was going to happen. We have a young umpire behind home plate. I don't even know if he's aware of what happened in 2015. So to kick him out of the game on that particular pitch, that's what, obviously, as I told him, there's 47,000 people here that came to see you tonight, and not Noah Syndergaard.
Yeah,
for heaven's sake. So,
yeah. Did you? As a quick aside, and then we got to ask Tom the big question about that famous phrase, of course. But when you got kicked out of a game, did you manage the rule from the tunnel, or did your bench coach and pitching coach really take over?
Of course you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty funny. It's always amazing, and these guys know what goes on. In Citi Field, if you get in the dugout, there's some steps that go back down into a little area. Then there's steps that go up in the locker room. You're right there. I mean, you're just down in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And you're not very far away. So if you want to make a pitching change, all you got to do is.
Was Bob Guerin that year? Your
Bob
bench-
Guerin was
Yeah.
there
So,
that
hey,
year.
Bob.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, just tell somebody, hey, tell Bob to do it, or tell. But you're right there. You're not very far away, and it's not a big issue. It's still done. I mean, Bobby, you guys know Bobby made himself up to come back on the bench. I couldn't do that. I had to bleach my hair, but yeah. So I'm still there, but it took me a little while to calm down too.
I'll bet. Yeah. So Tom, obviously, I'm sure you've explained this a few times since this video leaked out, but no one wants to leave here without really understanding what an ass in the jackpot is, why you said it, and just the general meaning of that. So if you could, please.
Okay. So I got to tell you this part first. So we're in Seattle. The video breaks, and we're going from Seattle to LA Dodgers for the next series. And we come out, home plate. I'm working third base that night because I had the plate the last night in Seattle. And I see Chase on the railing of the dugout, and I see Kershaw right next to him on the dugout. I'm thinking, what are they going to say to me? Are they going to bust me or what? So anyhow, I start running down third base, and all of a sudden I hear, "What the hell is ass in the jackpot?"
Even they didn't know. There you go.
So I had to explain to them what ass in the jackpot was. I'm originally from New York. Saugus, New York, about 100 miles upstate. And we would get done with school and we'd go to our field and play baseball. And sometimes we were winning and sometimes we were losing. And then sometimes we had extra innings. And I would miss dinner. So my mother would send either my sister or my brother over on their bike to let me know my ass was in the jackpot. My mom was bad.
It's from Mom.
I got in trouble. It means you're in trouble. You're going to get in trouble, you're in trouble, but you're in trouble. So that's where it came from.
You've been an umpire, major league umpire since 1985, right?
Yes.
Was that the first time that came out in an argument, or did you just say that a lot?
Absolutely. I don't know how it came out, why it came out, but it came out.
So Terry pushed whatever button Terry pushed, it got ass the jackpot out of your
Well,
memory.
he said it to no on the mound.
That's
Well,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
So
So it was fresh. By the time I got to Terry,
That's
it was
right.
fresh in my mind.
And Terry, did you have any time through how angry you are to think, like, wait a minute, what's an ass in the jackpot? Or did that only occur
not
to you
at the moment. Not at the moment. A little while later, I did. Yeah. And then I heard the explanation. I said, "Well, that makes all the sense in the world."
Yeah.
And what it meant was I was trying to tell Terry and Noah that if we didn't do something here, the league was going to fine me, give me a does not meet evaluation. They're going to do something. So that's what I was explaining. And that's what I should have probably came out and just said that. But I said, our ass is in the jackpot.
I think you did it better than that way. And that's the thing. I didn't understand this myself until I heard it not that long ago, actually. But your issues like that, I think, influence whether an umpire gets an assignment like All-Star postseason, right? And those pay extra, and those are prestigious assignments. So if your ass is in the jackpot, you might not be umpiring the World Series one day, right?
Well, I did not work the World Series in 2016.
There you go.
That probably had a little bit to do with it. But then I guess it was 2000 when it came out, all of a sudden the league finally saw it and said, holy shit, Tom, we probably shouldn't have given you the does not meet with that, the way you handled the situation.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It goes around, comes around in baseball, and it all worked out.
Now we're sitting up here and you guys are talking about it and you guys are here into it, I assume, because it was so entertaining and authentic. And it, as you said, Tom, it shows us what actually goes on the baseball field. So I understand that MLB doesn't want players to get hurt, and hit by pitches can do that. But with that and with replay, which is a whole other topic, but it all kind of combines between discipline and relay. We're not seeing as much of those arguments anymore. Do you think that something is lost there, or is like the accuracy and not getting guys hurt, is that a good thing too? Or like, where are you on? Like,
I'm going to be pretty clear about this answer. Yes, we have lost that, and it has changed the game, in certain respects, but that part's gone. You have your arguments now are, basically pitch calls, balls, strikes.
yeah,
Now
that's
they're going to have the challenge, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Terry, what do you think? As a manager, replay started to come in through the latter part of your manager career. So yeah, your team's gonna get some calls reversed that went against you, but you also don't get to state your case, protect your players, have those moments. Do you prefer the human side of the arguments, or do you just want accuracy?
Well, Bobby Valentine and I have had a lot of discussions about this, and I'm going to tell you where I stand. One of the things about the game of baseball that I've loved is the human interaction.
Yeah.
I loved it. I've known Tom a long time. Great respect for him. My college roommate was a major league umpire for 25 years. Great respect for him. But that was part of the game that I grew up watching, was that interaction with managers and umpires.
Mm-hmm.
And that's lost now.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure how, outside of these guys are on the field talking to the players one-on-one once in a while, but that's gone. And I understand technology is great. I understand the world's turning that way. But next year, you're going to watch a machine called balls and strikes.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't. That human side of the game is missing.
And it's entertaining. And the ABS, I mean, as we know, it's only going to be, I believe, 3 challenges per game per team. So it's not as if the robots are umpiring the whole game. But still, that's like the last thing left for a manager to get hot and argue about is the strike zone.
Yeah.
And now we're sort of taking that away, too. I agree with you. It's entertaining. And some managers have really been able to protect their players, and it helps you in the clubhouse, too.
And I know our fans know this, but, there's a time during a season when things just get stale.
Yeah.
Because we play so many games, so many nights in a row, sometimes it gets stale. The players get stale. And that's when the manager has to stand up and do something to re-energize the team. That can't be. I don't know how that's going to be done today.
And if you lose a call on replay review, you can't go run in Midtown Manhattan and yell at the replay room. So it's like you see that sometimes or manage because you guys know sometimes replays get turned on and you're like, really? That happens too. And there's nobody to yell at for the poor manager. And Tom, I think it's worth noting too that one thing the replay has shown is that you guys, umpiring world, have always been right a vast majority of the time. And most of your decisions are validated and all that. So the umpires are great. But every once in a while when you're wrong, it is kind of fun to have a little argument about it. I think that's what you're both saying.
Yeah, and when I first came up as an umpire, you were evaluated partly on how you handled situations. Well, situations are arguments or, throwing at a batter. Those are the types of things that you were evaluated on. You're not evaluated on that anymore. It's how many pitches did you get wrong?
Yeah.
How many times were you overturned? That's kind of what umpiring has become.
Terry, to your point about firing up your players or mixing things up with that, I've always wondered, watching managers, you always look really angry when you're arguing. What percentage would you say you're like, no, I'm really upset, like in that one, versus like I'm acting a little to try to get my team fired up?
Yeah, more than that. There's only certain situations. I went out one time, and there was another umpire. His name is Jerry Lane, and I had Jerry Lane for 4 years in the minor leagues and then a number of years in the major leagues. And I went out one night, and he said to me before I got started, he goes, "Now, am I going to kick you out before this is over? And if I am, let me know when you've had enough." So, so I'm arguing with him, and he finally said, "Are you ready to go?" So I said, "Yeah." So then he kicked me out of the game. But, those are things that they did, but they get it. That's the thing. People don't understand. These guys know they know the game.
Of course.
They know what's going on, and they have a feel for it. And I just think that part's missing, and I feel bad for it because that's again how I grew up.
Do umpires and managers know one another on a human level, or do you socialize much, or do you go out after the game for a beer, or is it really two separate worlds?
Probably two separate worlds. They got. I don't think it'd be very in today's world, especially with all the cameras. Can you imagine Tom and I having a game? And,
Yeah.
He's got the plate tomorrow. We're having a glass of wine at.
That's a good point.
At Foley's.
Foley's was the one place where you probably all mix them in.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it, but it really, as an umpire, you've got a wall. You don't cross over that wall, and there's plenty of managers and players that I would love to go out and play golf with them, but it just don't.
The professional thing to do is to keep a little bit of a professional distance, basically. So then, how do you get to? So you get to know guys on the field. How does that go? Do you feel like catchers better? Do you feel like a particular group of managers better? Like, what kind of relationships are you able to make, like in game?
Well, I would say it depends on the manager or it depends on the player.
Do you feel like you know the catchers?
Yeah, some better than others, but you got to get to know them.
Yeah.
You're going to call 256 pitches. They're not going to agree with you on every pitch, but you got to be able to work through it and say, "Hey, I thought that was a little outside."
I always looked at umpires who were forthright guys. Where you went out to argue and they just say, "Hey, I might have missed it," and then you walk away. I told Tom a story, and I'll just tell the audiences, but there was a major league umpire. How many years was Durwood an umpire? 30 years, 30?
I don't think he got 30, maybe 25.
So there was an umpire in the American League. His name was Durwood Merrill. And Durwood was an umpire a long time. And my college roommate was on that crew. And I'm managing the Anaheim Angels, and we're playing the Texas Rangers. We're tied for first place. We're playing Texas in Anaheim. So there's a play at first base. My first base makes a great play. Goes and tags the bag. Close play. Durwood calls the guy safe. So I go running out. And as I get close to Durwood, he sticks his hand out. He goes, "Before you get started, you have to understand I'm on the downside of a very mediocre career." And I turn around and went back to the dugout. What are you going to say? What are you going to say to them?
It's showing humility there.
So, and there's a lot of guys. He used to go out and they know. They and you can tell the ones who, "Hey, come on out, listen." And like Tom, and this thing, how he didn't get really, really mad is a testament to his character.
Yeah, the level of self-control there, Tom. We all admire. I don't know how many of us would have had that. So,
All right,
We got a couple minutes left. If anybody has any questions from the crowd. You wanna-
Okay, I can just go up there and bring the microphone to you.
Hey guys, hi Terry. Just wondering, what was the fine for that? How much was it?
I'm trying to figure out if you want to say.
Yeah,
I can tell you what it was. I didn't even see the letter.
That's $2,500. $2,500.
All charitable.
All charitable. Give them to charity.
Back front up.
Got a question back here.
Hey guys, thank you so much for coming today. I think it's just the human side of it. I thought the best line wasn't asked in the jackpot. It was Terry, talk to me. I get it. Just let it all out. I think that was my favorite line. What is your advice to umpires, managers, and the fans in terms of understanding the dynamic between we're angry at a call? Like, do you have anything to say on that in terms of just the dynamic of it between, because we're up in the stands, we don't have the best view, but we get angry. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I think the first thing is you have to realize we're human beings. And second is I am trying my damnedest to get every pitch or play correct when I'm out on the field. Do you think the last thing I want to hear is Terry coming out and yelling at me, or 47,000 people going, boo? No. So we are trying our best. We do miss them, and it happens, but that's, we're human beings.
And for the record, Tom, no umpire has ever had a preference, I would assume, and you're in game for whether it's the Mets or the Phillies winning or the Yankees and the Red Sox. You're just trying to get it right. Because you do hear from fans like, "Oh, come on, Blue, you fan rooting for the other team or something." I'm sure that is never the case.
One of the things is that our jobs are on the line, right? I mean, Tom just told you, he gets evaluated almost every game, the umpire. So, if he gets a lot of wrong calls, he's going to be doing something else next year.
Yeah.
And if I don't come out and try to win some games and challenge umpires, I will be doing something else next year. So, and that's the thing, that's the dynamics of it all. And once in a while, hey, look, you got to go protect your players.
Yep.
And there's a lot of times where you'll see a player get in an argument, and the first thing you got to do is get him out, get him out of the way, because you don't want your players ejected.
Right. You got anyone else,
Jack's
Jack?
not here.
All right, I got a question about Keith Nedlin. So, if they go on to possibly go into the Hall of Fame, what hat are they wearing?
Ooh. It depends on what they do with their new teams, I would think.
Well, I will tell you what, Pete will wear a Mets hat.
Yeah.
I don't know what Edwin's going to wear, but, because he had a pretty good career in Seattle, too. So, but Pete will wear a Mets hat.
All right, I got another question here.
This isn't really so much a question. First of all, I'm a big supporter of Umpire. But the question I have is, there's a PSA of an umpire, basically they're talking about if you see something, say something. The voice sounds very familiar. Is that you?
That is me.
The voice sounded very familiar. Thank you.
We just
have
have
any more?
a few minutes left up here if anybody has anything else. Got a couple minutes.
So, Tom, if you were behind home plate that night, were you throwing out Noah?
Wow, that's a great question.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I have to tell you, I knew too much about the situation, what had happened, and just what was going on. So I would have. If I was wrong, I was wrong. I was trying to stop the Mets coming up to bat and getting drilled with a pitch.
And because they had their shot. As you said, he just missed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Old school, you let the team have their shot, and then hopefully it's over. But when it doesn't happen that way, that's when your ass is in the jackpot.
Perfectly said, Tom.
All right, you got a couple more? Sir, you had one?
My question is, obviously you guys, I think, had a relationship before the incident and have a good relationship now. You shared with us that the home plate umpire was a minor league umpire rookie. Did you have a conversation with him? So because you came after really hard when it started.
I wouldn't call it a conversation.
So there was never anything afterwards. I would think him.
You know what?
Listen,
I'm going to tell you what. After 2016, the next one, 2017, I didn't have time in the game. So I don't think I ever had Adam again after that.
I don't think so.
All right, got one more?
I got you.
So knowing that many of the fans will be unhappy with any wrong or bad calls, why does one become an umpire as a
It's like, why does one become a dentist or something?
It is really easy. It's because you love the game.
John,
And
we got one more there in the
wasn't-
front.
I wasn't good enough to play in the big leagues or play after my high school career, so I found a way to stay in the game by going through the umpire. You gotta remember, I went down to umpire school, never have umpired one game. So that was probably to my advantage because I didn't have bad habits or they had to change. I just went down and paid attention to what the instructors were telling me, and it all worked out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been my privilege to listen to these guys. I'm sure yours as well. Please, Terry Collins, Tom Hallion.
All right, thank you so much, everybody.